My energy comes first. I prioritize the vision, and the vision is bigger than the next milestone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Words of Wisdom podcast. This is the place to be if you're a soulful entrepreneur who is ready to manifest an expansive business and life that includes that time, space, energetic, and financial freedom. I'm your host, Minerva Maharaj. I'm a certified spiritual coach, manifesting master, and founder of Goddess of Wisdom Spiritual Life Coaching and Starseed Academy Coach Training. I'm so grateful you are here, and I promise I'll be giving you the stories, the strategies, the tips to create that life your soul came here to experience. Thank you so much again for being here. Let's dive into this week's episode.
Today we're going to do a collab live and giving you our biggest tips, our keys, our codes for manifesting. Minerva and I have so much in common in the way that we think, feel, and live manifestation. And I'm going to kick us off. I slid in Minerva's DMs right before we jumped on with her latest reel and was like, girl, are we the same person? Let's start with this. So you posted a reel with the caption saying you manifest to the level you see yourself. I resonate so deeply with this from my own journey, but kick us off with like how you've navigated this in your own life and how you've changed the way you see yourself to actually attract, receive, and create more.
Yeah, because I do believe you attract to the level that, like you said, you believe about yourself, the way you see yourself. And I mean, yeah, same with you. Like everything that you write, I'm like, she's exactly in my mind. Like we're the same people, same frequency. So when you reached out about this, it was just like an immediate yes. So yeah, my experience of that is just, it's evolved over the years. And when I look back at everything I've manifested in my life, the good and quote unquote bad was always to the level of how I saw myself. So whether I saw myself, and for a long time, I saw myself as someone, and this sounds like absurd. Like when I share this with my mentor or even my husband or my friends, it'd be like, are you kidding me? Like that's what you think about yourself? Like, I run like 2 businesses plus an Airbnb. I have 2 kids. I'm married to my childhood sweetheart. And I've accomplished so much even in I used to be a dancer before becoming a coach. So I've accomplished so much even in the film and TV side of it. And yet it still wasn't not enough. Like I wanted more per se, but it was more like I didn't feel enough. Like no amount of money or accolades or awards or being on TV made me feel like I was enough. And it took me a long time to realize this. And actually one of the identities that I carried for so long was, and I never said this out loud, only recently I'm sharing this with private clients, is that I had this identity of, you hear whatever comes after the words I am, that's who you shall be, right? So if you think I am not enough, I am ugly, I'm not smart, whatever, that's so shall you be. And so I carried this, it was even revealing for me that this came up, but I carried this thing. I laugh now because it doesn't even feel like it's a part of me, but I am a loser. That was my identity for so long that deep down, I feel like a loser in this small little space within me. And even though I kept striving and kept achieving and, book commercials or tours and was a dancer or even clients or hit even my first 6-figure year, it always brought me down to this core feeling of really that I'm not enough, but the real story and identity I was relating to is that I'm a loser no matter what. And so I'm not a winner, I'm a loser. And so that was one of my biggest realization and wounds I carried for so long. And then identifying that and just kind of going through my past and be like, oh my gosh, no wonder this happened, or no wonder this boyfriend did this or whatever, right? So I was just manifesting to the level of how I saw myself even unconsciously. So yeah, I don't know, does that resonate? Do you have a story around that?
A part of me is like, how do I not know you? How did we not know each other before? Because I was a professional dancer up until pretty much this year. And I had that I am, like what you were saying, to me, I identified as a broke dancer. Believed it, I felt it, and I was proud of it. I was like, me and my friends would joke about how broke we are this month.
Yeah.
Oh my God, better get a go-go gig. We would joke about this shit.
Yeah.
And I just remember getting to that point And for a while, and when I say a while, I mean like 10 years, I like lived this way. And then it got to that point where I was about to turn 30, and that was in 2021. And I just had this aha moment, like, I'm about to turn 30 and I'm a broke dancer. Like that's like where
Yeah.
it hit.
Yeah.
And I all of a sudden just was like, I cannot, like I'm unavailable for this. And now knowing what I know, now knowing the tools that I have, it's like back then it was everyone's fault. It was the industry's fault. It was that dancer, that choreographer, or this opportunity or this audition. It was like everyone's fault but mine. And I just felt at the mercy of my life all the time. Like I felt at the mercy
Mm.
of the opportunities, at the mercy of this job. And very much my manifestation practice was like hope, wish, and pray. I hope,
Yeah.
wish, and pray this works out for me. And if I'm lucky enough, then this will happen. And something you shared in that post, actually, I can't remember the wording, but it was kind of like, I know I had the same thought pattern of, as long, okay, if I want to get this, I need to work harder to earn it, or I need to now show up to feel worthy of it. I was never just waking up with the energy of, I'm successful, I'm really talented, I'm really skilled, and what do I want to do today with all of this energy, power, certainty, and confidence? Where do I want to bring that? It was, how do I find the certainty and confidence to then go get the thing?
Yeah.
So I know you resonate with that so deeply as well. But that was really my journey and my awakening moment of like, I cannot live like this way and continue telling this story. And for me, when I started investing in mindset and learning about manifestation properly, because again, I think like I knew about it, and I'm sure you were the
Yeah.
same. Like
Yeah.
before you like knew how to work it, it's like I was doing the journaling, I was doing the full moon rituals, I was like doing the things.
Yeah.
But who I
Yeah.
was when I closed the journal and put myself out into the world was, I am a broke dancer. Oh, I'm going to be struggling this month. Let's laugh about it. So I,
Yeah.
as a human, wasn't changing. And as soon as I started to change that, life just popped off so quickly. And I couldn't even believe that it was because of my thoughts. Like
Mhm. Yeah.
I was still in the industry when I started this work.
Yeah.
So, and I love sharing this with anyone who kind of says like, oh, you know, now you have a good life because you have an online business. And I'm like, no, I was still dancing for like
Yeah.
the first part
Mhm.
of my journey with manifestation and energetics and mindset. And I made more money. I started driving a Mercedes. We upgraded our apartment, and life got better, and nothing changed in the industry. I changed.
Yeah. There is this image that I wrote out in the reel about the way I looked at myself was this cup, like this empty, I had this tiny little cup inside of me,
Yeah.
and I would fill it up and I would do all the things and the mindset work and the auditions and blah blah blah. Like I used to dance for the Raptors for 5 years and choreograph for them, the NBA, and I won all-star dancer. And like this is gonna date me, I'm 40 now, but like this is like 15 years ago or whatever, right? Not more than that. But I just remember like all those things, like would fill the cup and then, then it will go. And then I would feel burnt out or depleted and be like, oh, fuck, there's so much work I have to do to get to the next level. I don't want to do that. It's because I saw myself as this empty cup. And then I was like, why is there always a high and low and high and low? And then when I reflected, it's because of this little cup I held within me. And I lived up to that standard every time, even in my coaching business. When things started popping, well, I should say just popping up. Yeah, there were some great milestones. But when I hit my first 6-figure year, immediately after that, I dropped because, I mean, I needed to happen. It's my million dollar lesson year, I say. But it dropped. And now I see why it dropped is because I was this empty cup versus, like you said, just waking up and like shifting my identity. And this is like we could talk about like how did we start shifting this, because one thing that really started shifting this for me, and Bob Proctor had a video on this, still to this day I'm using it, like I love it. Like every time I use it, like more things just start popping into my world. Like even today something I was like, this is crazy. I was like thinking about something back around like the television. I can't say much about it now, but an opportunity came in about being on television in that capacity that combines coaching with it. So Bob Proctor, the way he just said this, like I was doing work on this for years, like future self and who do you want to be and imagine that and be that frequency. And I believe in all of that too. But you hear something and it just clicks differently. And the question was, how do you want to see yourself? And I was like, whoa. So when I really sat with that and closed my eyes and like, how do I want to see myself? How do I want to see myself in a year? How do I want to see myself as a businesswoman, as a wife, as a mother, as when it comes to money? How do I want to view myself and see myself? And to me, that starts filling the cup from a very organic, real, sustainable space. And it's not something I'm reaching for or trying to, and I have to do the affirmations and tap. No, you still do those things, but I mean, it just feels for me way more sustainable and fulfilling, like manifesting inward out, right? And like you were saying, the minute you started shifting your identity and not just like saying the surface things like I'm wealthy, I am rich. Like you can say that, but it's not going to be sustainable if your internal cup isn't full of the rich, meaningful, real things, right? So I would love to hear what you did to start shifting. I'm sure there's many tools because there's so many ways to do this.
Yeah, something you said that I want to highlight is that around the word sustainable, because I think all of us can get ourselves revved up. And this is really when it comes into that conversation of like that kind of like trauma response to, oh, now I need to go make money. Let
Yeah,
me get into this triggered state to put myself out there
yeah,
to then make the money. And then once you hit that milestone and once you get what you want, you take your foot off the gas and then you yo-yo, and then there is no sustainability and your income goes up and down, your emotions go up and down, like your life is up and down. And the biggest tool, the biggest, I wouldn't even, yeah, I guess it's a tool, but it's more like a mindset shift. Like the thing that really created a drastic result in my results, but also sustaining manifestation. So like once clients started to come in, they didn't just stop for like days or weeks or months. Or back when I was dancing, when jobs started to come in, they kept coming. Like I was able to actually hold more, was from this perspective shift of, instead of just getting clear on the goal and being like, let's, for example, use an easy one, like my first 10K month or whatever the goal is, being like, okay, what do I need to do to hit that goal? And then the way that I see this is you basically manufacture yourself to become that person just for that time frame. You're like, what do I need to do? I need to create the launch. I need to do the IG posts. I need to send the emails. I need to do all this stuff. Then you will get the result because you will be a match to it. But the reason why you won't be able to sustain it is because it's not who you are. And
yeah,
as soon as you get it, you're going to wake up the next morning being like, how the hell do I do this
yeah,
again? And
yeah,
this is where the shift comes in of, instead of manufacturing myself to just get a result, this work is a lifestyle. This is who I am. This is what I do. I wake up and I prioritize myself. My energy comes first. I prioritize the vision, and the vision is bigger than the next milestone. Otherwise, you just live. I know you know what I'm talking about, because like
yeah,
even knowing like you were in the dance industry, like, oh man, that was like half the battle. Entrepreneurship feel like a walk in the park,
yeah,
but this is what has created sustainability, but also being able to grow and continue. Sure, we're going to have dips, we're going to have moments, but where you can actually hold the income, hold the success, and it doesn't come and you don't wake up the next day being like, was it a fluke? Because it's like, no,
yeah.
this is who I am. So that was a big one for me. I'd love to hear one of your like really big like aha moments that created a long lasting change in your life.
Well, it's sort of like what you're saying right now. It's like avoiding that yo-yo effect, right? Like, and number one starts with how you feel internally, but how do you avoid that yo-yo effect? Like, same thing with me. Like, my first 20K month, my first six-figure year, my first. And then after that, the reason we think it's a fluke or we dip or we yo-yo, whatever you want to call it, is because at the core, you don't identify as that person, right? And
Mhm.
so my mentor recently said this to me. It's like, if say, I'm going to like start eating healthy and working out every day and like, I'm going to lose that 30 pounds and blah, blah, blah. But you start doing those manufactured things. You start doing, I'd say, the surface things. Okay, I'm going to write down the meals. I'm going to like go to the gym, and you do those things. But in what happens in 3 weeks? It is not sustainable. You dip back, you go back, you default to your old identity. It's because at your core, your current identity is associating with, I'm fat, I'm not healthy, this is hard, How am I going to do this? This is a big mountain to climb. All of your current identity is tied to that, how you see yourself. You at the core see yourself as someone who's always going to struggle to lose weight. So guess what? In like 2-3 weeks, you're going to start like ordering the fast food again. And that's exactly what's happened to me in the past, right? So when I start identifying that, oh, no wonder I was yo-yoing, no wonder I started dipping in my income, is because I like you, I used to say, yeah, you know, there was a glory about being a struggling artist, right? And I used to say I used to be the underdog, and there was glory to that. Like no one knew where I was coming from behind, but I was the worst in the class, but I ended up being the best in the class. I was worst on the team, I ended up winning the awards, right? And that's what I identified with. That's what I got my love and approval and my sense of self from. So when I started asking myself, and I'm going to share another tool, but the first thing was like realizing like, oh, at the core, I don't identify myself as someone who is wealthy and abundant and whole. I don't identify myself as someone who is enough. That was a big one for me. So big wound for me. And so I know you recently did a podcast on this as well. And again, I think we did it around the same week. It was around healing your wounds. So that was one thing. But to go deeper into another tool that really helped me, I guess you can call it a tool, but this frame of work is understanding my stress and trauma response so that you're healing it from the core. So I'm all about like getting to the core of the issue and not just doing the surface stuff. That stuff is an addition. That stuff to me is like, it's the flower when you plant the seed. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the nurturing of the flower, but now you have to work on the seed. So I'm all about working at the core. So I did, you know, working with different people too, like a trauma and spiritual coach and mindset coach. And, you know, I did also work with business and strategy coach, and I still have one too. But I feel like one of the things that really started this for me is identifying how I was creating from a stress response, from this fight response. Because for so long, I carried the identity of I'm a fighter. And that literally was the first label put on me. And I have a podcast somewhere on this. And, you know, my dad, the sweetest, they mean the best, right? But there was complications when I was born, and, you know, your first child, you're like, are they going to make it? Blah, blah, blah. And so I was in like an incubator, all of this stuff. And so there's this whole drama and story around it. And my dad said, I knew when you made it out of that, I can cry about it. I knew you were a fighter. And so that was always the endearing title.
It's how you received love and validation was through that identity.
Absolutely. So when I realized and started learning about, actually it was after I had my second child in 2021, and I was just not in a good place emotionally, on top of like all the stuff you go through as a new mother. But that's when it spurred my understanding of nervous system regulation. And then it took me on to like, you know, learning about trauma, the trauma I endured, not just from birth, but like, you know, different things. Everyone has different levels of trauma and experiences. But then I just realized my manifestation response, my stress response was always to fight through everything and fight towards it. And no wonder I ran out of steam, right? So once I started doing that work, understanding what that even means, how that played out in my life, just having the awareness around that and how it showed up, then I started making a conscious choice. And this is a step. It's like making a choice. Like, how do I want things to be? How do I want to feel? What do I want my life to be? And I want it to be where I can rest and receive. And to me, that took some time and conditioning, different things that like tapping, working with therapists, working with coaches. Yes, doing the mindset work, continuing with my energetic work, which is different tools that I do, like whatever I teach with my, you know, in my memberships, in my group programs, and my private programs, I go through it first. So it is a mix of tools, but I really started, you know, I had to, number one, I do want to say this, is that you have to honor how you feel. You have to honor what's coming up. To me, you have to purge. And maybe you have a different point of view on this, but I feel like you have to purge that. Otherwise, it's like you're planting these beautiful flower seeds in a, you know, a bed of weeds, right? So just doing that work to purge and acknowledging and not in like a berating way, like in a loving way that like, I was just doing myself doing the best I could. And even those who were caring for me were doing the best they could. And they were responding through their trauma response. This is how I've just been creating up until like 2021, 22. And I'm sure it seeps in every now and then, still to this day, that I just start seeing how I was creating through trauma. And I was tired of that. And I'm like, I want rest and receive mode. And you start doing the work around that to start feeling safe in your body. And that's sort of the work I do, is like on every level of the manifestation. It's the mindset, but it's the body work, the embodiment work, it's the emotional work, it's the energetic work, to all, because you are made up of so many parts, so many beings and bodies within you, the emotional, mental, physical, spiritual levels. And so it's been a process, but I feel like the work we're doing, we are going to make it a little easier for people,
Oh my
right? Like
God.
we're walking the path so they don't have to like take, for me, it took like almost 40 years to figure this out. And not to say I have it all figured out, but it's really shifted so much that my income, like I have more freedom in my business now, running 3 businesses, have 2 babies, working just 2, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So I'm working less and making more, have more energy, more happiness, more fulfillment. And that's going to keep growing and expanding. And I'm so excited for that. So I
Yeah.
think that's only the result of doing this core work, not the surface work anymore, not surface manifestation work. And that's another thing, what I love about you too, is like our stuff is not like the superficial, but I feel like part of my work to do is like debunk all of these myths, like just do affirmations, that like people think it's an airy fairy thing, and they don't realize how powerful this is and how much more mature and real they could use this and embody it, so that they are creating sustainable and elevatable elevatable results. I make up words.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes to everything, truly. Like, yes to everything. And something you said around like the purging, I was having a conversation with my mastermind clients, I think it was last week. And I used this analogy around like, because as we both know, when you decide to level up and you're actually for realsies with the universe and you're like, no,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm doing it. I'm investing. I'm really actually committing to this.
Yeah.
All your shit's about to come smack you in the face. Like when
Absolutely.
like it's coming. And I use this analogy because some of my clients in my mastermind were going through it. And I was like, of course you are. You just invested in a high level space with the biggest declaration you've ever made in your life about who you want to become, the lifestyle you want to live, the career you want to have, the
Yeah.
wealth you want to have. So I was like, it's like you've been walking down this path for so long, decades, maybe even longer, and that path is sunny because you've walked it so many times. You just all of a sudden chose to beeline down a new path that hasn't been walked. It's dark, it's scary, and there's monsters that are ready to jump out at you. Like,
Yeah.
you're in it right now. And this is where most people tap out. This is where, as soon as it gets uncomfortable, as soon as the fears come up, as soon as these uncomfortable scenarios come up, they tap out and run back to the familiar and run back to the known. But if you can just get to the other side, if you can walk through the dark forest with the scaries, what's
Yeah.
waiting for you is a completely new life. And something that I have experienced, and I know you have too, is when we are like taking our life to the next level, like obviously we both focus on that vision. Who do you want to be? Who are you at the next level, right? And what I noticed is a big part of that is actually unhooking from who you've been.
Yeah.
So getting very clear on, okay, if that's the new standard for my life, for the way that I respect myself, for who I allow around me, because when you decide to level up in your life, that means relationships are going to like, you're leveling up there. That means your
Yeah.
conversations are changing. Your day to day is going to get rocky for a second because you have made this declaration that you are ready for more. So in that declaration comes saying no to people, places, circumstances, jobs, opportunities that no longer align with the vision. And that is like the unhooking part that comes with the becoming part.
Yeah.
And I know for me personally, especially with my journey with money and around feeling safe with money and wanting to open up to receive more amounts of money, in the beginning, when I was starting my business and leaving the dance industry, I was not happy doing some of the dance jobs that I was doing, which I used to bend over backwards for like a $200 gig. You want me to be there for 12 hours? No problem. It came with, before I had the stability of my business working and the 5-figure cash months, it came down to me choosing it and having to say no to the familiar, to the money, even though it wasn't like a crazy amount. But to me, in that moment, my nervous system, my energy of like, how can I say no to $500 right now when I don't have a client
Yeah.
yet? But in that moment, who am I going to be? Am I unhooking from the old self and choosing the new life?
Yeah.
And only when we can really do that is when the opportunities are there. And it's almost like having to leap and trust that there is a net to catch you. Otherwise, you can't fully get there. So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear like your experience of your leap, leap with a blindfold on moment of like,
Oh,
catch me next level.
oh, I have so many. And often it's like, and this is another old story, I have to do it myself because I often felt like it may not be true, but I often felt like I was the only one who believed in me. It was the only one who saw it. So even just starting my coaching business, like to go from, I pursued dance from like 8 years old to 32. So I thought I was like, that was it for the rest of my life. And what I invested, and I was in acting and starting singing and everything. And like I shared, there was some really great moments and things I accomplished. So then to go from that after I was married and I realized I'm like, if this is my purpose, it wouldn't feel so hard. Like I just knew enough that I'm like, and I was just tired. And also I was living up to, it just expired. I was living up to that identity and that wounding as well to be seen so bad. And so I was ready for that next level. So making that leap of leaving what I worked for like over 20 years, yeah, close to 20 years, my math could be off here, but that was scary because, I didn't finish university for that. I quit so many things for that. I even had a dance business at the time too. So it just seemed so like, but all I knew, like for me, in order to take that leap, I feel we each have our own signs and magic, and I call them manifesting code. But for me, it was like just this deep feeling, like my feeling in human design, like emotions is such like determining factor for me, like it's my authority. And I lean into that. That used to be a scary thing, but now it's just like, it's part of my power. And I just knew, like something else is there. And I, I always say it starts with desire for me. And so I just sensed, and I had three things. I'm like, I want to wake up and just go to my desk in my pajamas. I want to do something I love, and I want to do something that I know is making a difference, right? As much as I love the dance stuff and acting stuff, I often came back and be like, who is this actually helping? like my last commercial was like eating a chicken wing, and I got in trouble because I didn't eat the chicken wing properly. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, how is this chicken wing gonna help people's lives? Like, so for me, like, if this is your purpose, then if like acting and dance is your purpose, then you're most likely going to be more effective than I was, right? But I just knew it just wasn't meaningful. So I took that leap just plainly from desire and knowing but unknowing. I knew and sensed, I'm a very feeling person, there's something greater, and I just turn my focus. I just allow it to pull me this way is the best way I can describe it. And everyone else, like family members are like, oh, are you going to change your career again in like a few years? Are you going to settle down sometime soon? And I'm like, it's not the most positive, high vibrating support, but so much of my life, when I think my biggest things, everyone was like, not yet, don't do it, finish school, even to become a dancer, finish school, then do that. And then leaning into that, is then when the ideas start flowing. My husband then goes, why do you quit your job? Because I was working at a video production house. I was like an office manager. Why don't you quit your job? Figure out what you want to do. And months before that, he said no. And I cried and I like was a big baby about it. Because I'm like, I hate this job. But anyways, things just start shifting. Like you said, when you choose that and you choose the unknowing, because everything is created on the energetic field, like it's not like that exact opportunity was there. And then I'm like, yes, I would like that. I would like to become a coach. No, I started following this feeling, this greater knowing. Call it your soul, call it inner source. There was just this greater knowing. And I was tapped into spirituality to help me with acting and all of that at that time and dancing. So I had that knowing and sense, and I didn't have all the words and understanding what was going on, but I just followed that feeling. I followed that desire and I believed in it. And that was, to me, it was like the fuel. in the car. It's a thing that is like, you know, like the car can go and you're like, okay, I guess I'm going with it. Like I felt this pull. And then even when I started my coaching business, I actually started at some point in my career, finishing my 9th year in coaching. And I don't remember what year, like my 3rd or 4th year as a coach, I started working for another coaching school. And there were so many beautiful opportunities, but it expired. Like something just fell off. And I had a full schedule. I was getting clients from the student. Like the students are like, I want to work with you. Can you coach me? Can you mentor me? It was actually part of my first 6-figure year because I was getting students from the school, not like actively pursuing them, but they were coming to me. And November of that year, I'm like, I need to end this. And I was like logically does not make sense. This was a huge part of my funnel. I hit my first 6-figure year, which I, you know, as a coach is kind of a milestone for a lot of people. It did not make logical sense. And in that, I felt this, you just have to leave. It doesn't mean, I was like, what am I going to do? I didn't have the answers. I didn't know what was next. So I resigned, but I just kept trusting. My huge sign for me is like this sense of relief and lightness and expansion. And that's all I need to know. And then there's enough evidence of that for me over time that like that's my sign I'm on the right path. And then so that was around November. I quit that coaching school. And then January of the following year, I was doing an advanced coaching certification. And in that class, we were led through this meditation, and I got this clear vision, these gates open, and it's like, open your school now. And there had all these little heads. And that's when Starseed Academy was birthed, because I always knew I would open a school, a certification school for spiritual coaches. I knew it. I didn't push it. I didn't rush it. I got the answer. I acted on it. Like that probably wouldn't have come if I didn't follow the first clue to leave this place and trust it, to follow the knowing. I did not know a thing. But that was January 13th, 2021. By April 1st, I had everything registered, website up, the program written. The day I opened the doors, I had someone register, right? And then my first course. So I mean, like that, those are my moments of like, you know, take the leap. And for me, my sign of taking the leap and I'm on the right track is just like, I just come back to that knowing, that feeling where like, it's not logical and no one, it's not going to make sense to anyone to tell me to open a business in 3 months. Same thing with my coaching business. My first clients were within 3 months. I didn't even have a website. So it's like, to me, the thing I would love everyone to tune in, tap into is like, when you look at your best manifestations or your favorite manifestations, there are clues. What are those things where you're just like tuned in, tapped in? You just have this knowing and trust. And none of it, like to me, like I love your word impossible. That's been mine for so long as well, is like turning the impossible into the possible. Anything, like all of these great things, airplanes and whatever you want to name it. Someone told them it was impossible, but that all started with someone saying, had this feeling or vision or idea, like, what if we could fly to places? That was like unheard of 100 years ago. Like, you mean fly? That's ridiculous, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, the more ridiculous it is, the more possible it is to me.
Yes. Oh my God, I completely relate. And that story is so inspiring and just beautiful evidence of what can unfold if you actually trust yourself. And what I I know now, because of so much evidence, is that every time you get that nudge, every time you are getting that feeling or that pull or that emotion of like something's off and there is like I need to walk away,
Yeah.
the universe never leaves you with nothing. Like there's always like the breadcrumb. It may be fucking small, but like the breadcrumb is there. Like your
Yeah.
next step is there. And with my own personal growth in my business, in my life, my bank account, my relationship, with all of it leveling up so fast, everything that created the result was not logical.
Yeah.
And now that's my sign that I'm on the right track. If it seems crazy, if I wake up and I'm like, I think I've lost my mind, I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
right on the money.
Yeah.
I'm getting closer.
Ding, ding.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is it. This is it. So I could literally talk to you all day. I
I
feel
know.
like we need to actually have a conversation like behind closed doors and just be like, wait, girl, like tell
Yeah.
me everything
Yeah.
else.
Yes. Yes. For
We
sure.
have more to discuss, but I'll let you start first. Tell the community where they can hang out with you, find you, what's coming up, or anything that you have in your world right now.
Yeah, I have a podcast, Words of Wisdom podcast. I am going to rebrand it. I have a vision and everything, but it's your like homegirl manifestation, like real mature manifestation tips and guidance to manifest more money, ease, flow, and emotional freedom in your life so that you are living that expansive life your soul wants for you and what God put you on the earth for as well, so that you can live out your mission is really what it comes down to. So there's my Words of Wisdom podcast, and I currently have a Manifest membership, which the end of today is just $55 a month, and I just go like all in with the trainings and the tips and the riffs and on Telegram and the Q&As. So yeah, it's all on my profile and I could drop it here as well. What about you? What do you have going on?
Perfect. Yes, I also have a podcast called Big Dreamers Bible Podcast, and
I love it,
that
by
was
the way. I listen to it.
oh my God, yes, that makes me so happy. So that is on all podcast platforms. You can hang out with me on the podcast. And then obviously I hang out the most on Instagram. So you're always welcome to slide into my DMs. They're always open. I have my signature program called School of Dreams. And that's really where I break down, to me, what I like to call success energetics, which I know you're going to be like, yep, that's it. Because it's like, we can have the best strategy, but if your thoughts, your beliefs, your identity, your self-image, your confidence, your personal power isn't in alignment to that strategy, it's not going to fucking work. I break down what my process has been to level up in all areas of my life again and again. I break that down in my program, School of Dreams. And then I have one-on-one and my high-level mastermind. So that is the way to hang out and work with me.
Okay.
But this was so incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you for spending your afternoon with me. And this was amazing.
You.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Love you so much. We'll talk soon.
Love you soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.